Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. One thing that I have been supremely thankful for over the past several months is um, my reinvigorated yoga practice and the ability to share it with you today, but also for the privilege of studying with Ashley, MoMA, and everybody else at Blue Yoga Fitness. I mean, it's been an exhilarating experience, and I'm really thankful to everyone for making me feel part of the community. So I want to begin this first video sitting on the floor and just finding what you think feels good and asking yourself why. So if you have your legs crossed a certain way or your sit bones are organized in a certain way, I want you to just ask yourself, what is it about the way that you're positioned that feels good? Do you feel any tension anywhere? Maybe in your neck, or your back, your chest? I know for me, I tend to accumulate tension right here between the neck and the shoulders. I'm not sure if it's just sleeping in a certain way or um, compounded anxiety. I suffer a lot from anxiety, and so I'm hoping that the work we do today, if you also suffer from anxiety, hopefully that will help you as well. But when you're ready, I want you to come into a very organized seated position, Dandasana, and do your best to cross your right shin in front of your front left shin like this. If you can touch your knees all the way down, that's great. Unfortunately, I'm still working on getting there. And if you are too, we're going to get there together. So don't worry, don't feel like you're alone. Sit straight on your sitting bones, your spine erect, and your chin parallel to the floor. Place your palms on your knees and gently tug your spine forward, right? So the tendency here is to collapse the spine or to sort of, arch the neck, maybe in an uncomfortable position, but just slowly tug forward and stack your heart over your pelvis, and again, the chin parallel to the floor. Enjoy your sacrum, that area at the base of the spine. Just draw that as flat as possible and really open your chest. Take a deep breath, let it out, and just open yourself to the atmosphere, your environment, whatever's around you. The great thing about yoga is that it not only allows us to take the beautiful parts of life in, but right now, as everyone's struggling with COVID and, of course, the massive social unrest, the bonkers election that's coming up in a few weeks, yoga will also help us show up in a way that's healthy for ourselves and healthy for others. So keep your spine nice and active. And now open your hands in a mudra or gesture of receptivity. And when you're ready, bring your right hand to your stomach. Take a deep breath. Exhale. One more time. And now keep that going. And every time you breathe in, really feel the stomach inflate and open up. And when you feel comfortable with the way the stomach is filling with air, bring your left hand over your heart. And do the same, but when you inhale, after you feel the stomach inflate, also let the chest inflate and feel the difference. Don't be afraid to touch your body. And find a nice pace that works for you. For me, this position might seem rather easy, but for me, and maybe some of you out there have experienced this as well, the first time that I did this breathing exercise in a class and the teacher asked me to put my hand on my stomach, I almost shuddered away from it. I almost refused to do it, or there was this sort of subconscious voice that said, "Don't touch your stomach." And upon reflection, I started to think about that coming from when I was younger. I grew up overweight, and a lot of those issues with food came from anxieties with my family, things I couldn't control, and so I turned to eating. And so the first time I was asked to touch my stomach, it was like, that being confronted with my body and what story or relationship my body was telling me now, and confronting those memories from the past. But that's good to touch your body and know that you can love your body. And maybe your body isn't what you want it to be right now, but you can still be happy with it. You can still be content. And as you move forward, you can work on it. I mean, that's why we're here, right? Every step, every day that we practice on the mat and off the mat, it's just another opportunity to get closer to the person that we want to be in the world. So don't be afraid to just feel. Because it's your body and your breath that connects you to the world around you. It's the one thing that most of us will share with one another. Actually, all of us as human beings, and animals as well, right? That breath, that pranayama force, energy force. Okay, close your eyes. Just let a natural pattern of breath emerge. We're staying here for a little bit on the mat today. But I want to invite you at this point to set an intention for today's practice. Now, if you don't have one, I definitely invite you to partake in mine. For me, my intention today is just to be present and to think about all the different ways that one is present in their personal life, in their social life, in their community life, and on the mat, our physical life. So we're going to really try to focus on that today. Okay, let's do 5 more inhales and 5 more exhales at your own pace. Third inhale. Fourth inhale. And 5. Okay, now check in with your body again. Is your spine as straight as it was when we first started sitting? Is your neck still cultivated in a position where your chin is parallel to the floor? If it's not, that's okay. Just remind yourself as we go forward to keep coming back to these core foundations. Okay? And when you're ready, let's meet in tabletop position. So here, stretch out a little bit. Tuck the toes. You want to have the fingers grounded into the mat, especially with your thumb and index finger. And your elbows as straight as possible, shoulders over wrists. And your biceps, you want to circulate them forward, straight out. Take a deep breath in. Lower the belly. Hello. Yep. Come on in. You just need to go, right? Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Yeah. It's okay now.
Hello, baby. Yeah.
I'm on. No gas in? Some light?
It's good. It's good. Mama.
Or rather, fine. Do I just start gassing? You see right now? Kind of shorter. I told him that if you don't get into that apartment, he doesn't open it. So I got some access. Change out batteries. Huh? I don't know.
You smell a little bit of gas. It's just us purging a little bit of air out of here.
Okay, cool. Were they able to fix the gas under the sidewalk? I know they were telling us that the
Well, that they probably had to fix first before they did.
Yeah. Well, because they weren't sure. I guess they were going to try to put in a new line or something. I don't know.
They did, right?
That's crazy. Yeah, that day that it all happened, I remember the whole ground was dug up.
You know, they're trying to take care of that first.
Looking good.
Oh, no.
That's awesome. We were using that little, burner.
How long does that take?
I mean,
One plate at a time.
yeah, one plate at a time and very limited.
Actually, in my house, I have electric stove. I hate it.
Yeah?
But I bought it like that, you know? I hate it.
Where?
But
Oh, wow.
it's I hate electric stove. It's just not the same as gas. It's just not. And I'm a big biased, but it's true. It's a fact. It's a fact. It's just, it's just not right. You know. Plus, I love the season for the flavor. You know.
Yeah. Right?
All right, take care, man.
All right, thank you so much.
Have a good one, man.
You too. Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you, too.
It's okay, buddy. That's one of the joys of the home practice that I've discovered is you never quite know what's going to happen. So basically, we had no gas for a very long time, and we had a little hot plate. We were cooking everything. We had no oven. We had no heat. I mean, it just started getting a little bit cool here in New York, but we had no heat the first few days. It was chilly. And so, long story short, for a few months, we've been waiting for Con Edison to come back and repair some of the gas lines outside. And here, finally, right, out of all the times they could have possibly come, it was right now. But I think this is instructive because, to whereas a lot of times in a studio, when we're practicing, right, we have a sort of fixed environment or focus. that we can maintain when we're practicing yoga. But at home, what I've noticed is, there's so many unexpected things that come up. And yes, we can do our best to ask for that time for ourselves. But sometimes, it's just not going to happen because of unpredictable life. Um, and so for me, I actually tried to turn that into more of a positive. And then to whereas I used to get anxious, I started to use the power of yoga and what it was teaching me to reset myself, and instead of getting anxious about those unpredictabilities, started to be thankful for them because they gave me an opportunity to be aware of how I was reacting, and then I could work on myself from there. So, all right, let's reset. So actually, before we come to tabletop, let's sit back down. Let's put right hand on left knee. Bring the arm all the way back. Inhale, stretch. And when you exhale, try to ease a little bit deeper that back left arm as straight as possible. Goal, look over the left shoulder as much as you can. Feel that flex in the back, in the left side body. But again, you want to be sensitive to that spine, right? You don't want to collapse it. Keep it as nice and straight as possible. And then come back to center with an inhale. Take a deep breath out. Inhale, opposite side, same thing. Keep that spine nice and straight. Hold for a few beats. Look over that right shoulder this time. And back to center. Okay, now I want to take the arms up. Reach for the sky and cactus them down, nice and slow. So it almost feels like your back body is unraveling. Try to touch your shoulder blades together while you come down. Inhale up. Exhale. Down. Inhale up. One more time. Hands to heart. And now, let's go back to that tabletop we were originally going to engage in before all the commotion. Another beautiful thing about the commotion and the distraction is once we're able to deal with in-home distractions like that or from our personal lives, we're able to focus more on our lives outside. I mean, right now, there's so much turmoil going on, from protests to all the injustices that we see every day in our lived experiences. And being able not only to show up, but also navigate those distractions and those painful moments that they cause us is another way that our yoga practice can really enhance our lives. Okay, so as I was saying, up through the index and the thumb on both hands, and then try to grip with the rest of those fingertips. Biceps pointed forward, neck facing down, eyes facing down. And you want to rotate those biceps and those shoulders forward. Knees about shoulder width apart, sort of even with your wrists there. And breathe in. Carve a line straight up with the nose. Be careful not to arch your back too much where you cause yourself pain. And then exhale, down. Cat. Pushing away from the mat, nice and firm. When you do this, tighten up those stomach muscles, right? Be really aware of how they feel when you try to clench them back, when you try to tighten them. Clench is a bad word. When you try to tighten them and have them meet your spine. What does that feel like? Are you feeling any heat in your biceps, your shoulders, your forearms? It's good if you are, but you don't want to have any pain in your wrists. So if you are feeling pain in your wrists, try to claw a little bit deeper. The joys of having pets. Just another example of a distraction. But hey, Nelly, Nell, Okay, a few more rounds of feet down.
Let the dog be inspiring to us. I guess she's angry about the cat. I don't know.
And down again. Push away from the mat. Inhale up.
Flex those stomach muscles and the abdomen.
And then back up.
One more time.
And then back to neutral. Okay, so when you get here, I want you to open your knees as wide as the mat and push yourself back. Take a second. Ease down into child's pose. If you feel like you can bring the head all the way down to the mat, please do. But if not, perfectly okay. If you just want to sit like this for a few minutes, kind of work out the kinks of the wrists, elbows, roll the shoulders, try to loosen up. But either way, no matter what position you're in here, just notice your breath. Is it beating a little faster? Is it beating a little slower? How does it feel when you take in those big inhales now that you've seen and felt what your chest and your stomach do? Keep these questions in mind as you push up with your hands. And again, clawing a little bit into the mat with your fingertips. Push back really slowly. Drag your fingertips across the mat. Try to keep the shoulder blades back. And notice all the different sensations in the body as you move from your original position back to kneeling. Or if you were here the whole time, how are you? How are you from when you first started kneeling to this moment? All right. Hands between the knees. Push up to standing. Okay. Now we should be at the back of the mat. Feet about shoulder width apart. Fix yourself up. And what I want you to do, take your right foot, okay? So ease it off the mat. Feel your right heel come up. Feel the pressure on your toes. And try to feel those 2 points of pressure, one by your pinky toe, one by your big toe, right underneath the 2 toes. Feel those points meet the ground. Again, with your heel back up a little bit. Flex the leg forward like this. Okay, now switch. Bring the left heel up. Feel those 2 corners of the front of the left foot. Feel that tension right here when you flex the back of your calf. How is that? Have you engaged that part of your body in a while? Okay. Now returning to the right foot. This time, kind of shift your weight to the 2 front corners of your left foot and your heel. So you want to ground now into all 4 corners. Lift up your right foot. Lift your knee as high as it'll go. Hold for 1, 2, 3. And then on 3, bring your foot forward. Lifting that back heel. And note now the 4 corners of the right foot as they dig into the mat. How does that feel? One more time. We're going to bring up the left knee this time, grounding into all 4 corners of the right foot. And then bring that straight forward. And here we are, all the way at the front,
in mountain pose. Okay? We're already doing great stuff. So extend the arms out to the side, spine straight. Again, you want to mimic that same position you were in when you were seated earlier. Chin parallel to the floor. And try to tuck your belly button to your back spine. So you want to feel like a sort of zipped up feeling in your center body right here. And with the knees, sort of clench them up a little bit. Again, not too tight where you feel pain, but just enough where you can feel the knees, the kneecaps, the thighs activated. And of course, you're still grounding your feet, all four corners, into the floor. Deep breath in. Hands up. Forward fold. Exhale down. Halfway lift, straight back. Literally keep your back straight. Hands to the mat. Step the right foot back. Rock a little bit. Try to reach that back heel all the way to the back of the room. Just take a moment to stretch. And then bring that left leg back. Come forward onto your tiptoes, trying to keep a straight line from your heels to the crown of your head. The tendency here is to sometimes sort of fall with your pelvis down to the mat. It's okay if you want to do a modification. You can bring your knees down like this, nice and flat. But if you feel like you can do it, keep nice and straight. Toes forward, and then lower all the way down. Chest, torso, legs, and top of the feet on the ground all about the same time. And then push up slowly into a cobra. And then just right back down. So let's inhale up. Arms under the shoulders, elbows bent. Exhale down. Take in a deep breath, and then on an exhale, you're going to lift the hips straight up into the air. Feet are going to roll under, so you'll be on your toes, and we'll meet in downward facing dog. One fluid motion. All right, so how do you feel here, right? This is a rest posture, but sometimes it can feel a little bit strenuous. The tendency here might be to flex and lock the elbows too hard or sort of crank the neck. And how do the feet feel? Don't worry if your heels are not touching the mat. We're going to get there. It's going to take some time, but we'll work on it together. Okay? So from here, in down dog, you're going to walk or jump the feet to the front. I'm going to do a little crossover step, just like this. Nice and slow. Feel those toes engaging the mat. What does the mat feel like? Is it soft? Is it spongy? Is it slick? Is it sweaty? And when you get your feet to the top, halfway lift, flat back, down into forward fold. If you can't keep your legs straight here, it's okay. Bend your knees as generously as you need to. And just sort of hang. Let yourself hang. You can even grab the elbows, rock side to side. Feel the awareness as you shift your weight from one leg to the other. Do you feel any difference in your hamstrings or your calves or your back? Now let's bring the hands to the waist. Really grind down all four corners of the feet again. Bend those knees and then lift from the
waist, keeping the back as straight and flat as possible.
All the way up, hands overhead, inhale. Exhale, hands to the chest, down into mountain. Okay, how did that feel? Where are you now that's different from where we first started? Where are you now that is different than from where we were this morning when you first woke up? Keep that in mind. We're going to do this cycle a few more times. All right, this time we'll try to go a little bit faster, but don't worry, not too fast. So starting again in mountain pose. Inhale up. Exhale down.
Into forward fold. You can bring your hands to the back of the Achilles heels and help you kind of pull yourself towards the knees a little bit. But again, be careful. You don't want to strain anything. And then halfway lift. And then here, step the right foot back, step the left foot back. Let's just hold and plank for 3, 2, 1, and then lower. Remember, the front body all hitting the ground as flatly and at the same time as possible. Hands underneath the shoulders, feet flat underneath you. And then this time we're going to push up a little bit deeper. Still a cobra, but a little bit further back. So see how I'm a little bit more upright? I'm not quite in an upward dog, and I'm not quite in a cobra. Right in the middle. And then exhale back down. And then again, we're going to flip the feet under, push back with the hips into downward facing dog. Deep breath in. Okay, now that we're back here, pedal it out a little bit. Let's check the hands. You're still gripping nice and tight. Fingers, especially the space between the thumb and the index finger. Head down, rotating those biceps outwards, shoulders outwards. And what about the feet? Are your heels any closer to the mat? Just try to note that. I mean, it's almost impossible to see every time that your feet are closer to the mat. You know, you would need to be measuring them down to the millimeter sometimes to be able to see a difference. But over time, you'll surprise yourself. One day you wake up and all of a sudden your feet in downward dog are completely flat. So take note of that as we go through a few more times. All right, so you're going to step. This time I'm just going to step like this. Or jump to the front of the mat. Forward fold. Straighten the knees as much as feels comfortable. Halfway lift. Bend the knees, root to rise. Inhale, arms up. And exhale, arms down back to mountain, Tadasana. All right, so how you feeling? You feel like we can go a little bit quicker? All right, let's try it. I'm in this with you. You know, the beautiful thing about yoga that really inspires me is, you know, I keep finding out more interesting things about myself. You know, sometimes I think a posture might be relatively easy or something might be hard. And then my body reacts totally different than I believe it's going to. So I love that yoga keeps me surprised with myself, but it also keeps me learning, you know. This is an ongoing practice for all of us. And sometimes you fall, but we're here for you, and we're here to make sure that every time you do fall, that you're able and inspired to get back up again. Okay, so we start in mountain pose. Inhale, arms up. Forward fold. Step back. Hands down, step back into plank for 3, 2, 1. Lower down. This time, push till your arms are almost straight up. And you want to have feet flat on the floor but legs come up, and try to look straight towards the ceiling if you can. If this is giving you any pain whatsoever, just come back into the baby cobra and you'll work your way up to it. If you are here, or no matter if you're in baby cobra, big inhale and exhale. Back to downward facing dog. Okay, pedal it out one more time. Just check in with your hamstrings, your calves, your Achilles heel, your shoulders, your fingertips. How's that feel? Okay, and back to the front. Forward fold. Flat back. Take a minute here. Try to keep the back as flat as possible, almost like when we were in tabletop before. Nice and flat as that. Deep breath, arms up, root to rise. Exhale, arms down, back to Tadasana. All right. So just check in with the feet. How they doing? Say hello. Let's take a minute to come down. Bring the feet out. Go as wide as you can. And just fold over, trying to keep the back as flat as possible. And try, when you bend here, try not to bend with your back in an arched, uncomfortable position, but have your hands on your hips and bend forward from the hips, keeping the legs as straight as possible. Sort of breaking up the routine today. And it's okay if you're here. If you want to stand with your hands on your knees, that's perfectly fine. You'll work your way up to a deeper stretch. Feel on both sides. Now forward. Then take your right arm and try to place it on the left ankle. Feel that side body stretch on the right, a little bit on the left there in your core, but also you should feel a little bit here on your hamstrings and your calves on the left side. Back to center. And on the right. It's okay to start to shake. You see, I have a tendency to also be a little tight on the right calf here, right hamstring. So sometimes when I stretch like this, you'll notice that I start to shake a little bit. But that's just an ongoing practice that I need to make sure that I'm always sort of caring for this. And that's what the shakes can remind you of, you know, when you build up that heat, that tapas, this idea that there's always work to be put in and love to be given to a certain part of your body. Okay, come back to center. Flat back, just like we did in association with our forward fold earlier. And then back to the front of the mat. So pivot on your left foot and bring that right foot to meet it. Hands, inhale, hands up. Down. Step the right foot back, left foot back. Let's stay here and plank for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Keeping that stomach nice and tight. Lower down. And then this time, upward facing dog. Arms flexed. Shoulders still to the front. Looking straight up. Exhale, downward facing dog. And now let's stay here. This is our 4th downward facing dog of the day. What does that feel like? What's different? Any more flexible in the Achilles heel or the calves? All right, take a deep breath. Walk or jump your way to the top. Forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, root to rise. Hands up. Exhale, back to Tadasana. Okay, this last time we do it, we're going to try to go the fastest of all. If you just want to sit down in a child's pose, that's where we're going to meet after this. So sit in child's pose and wait if you feel like you just need a moment. But if not, come on, let's do this together. So still here. Inhale, arms up. Forward fold. Halfway lift. Hands to the mat. Plank. Lower down. Upward facing dog. Exhale. Downward facing dog. Feet, heels a little bit closer to the mat. Push away with the hands on this last one. Step or jump your way to the front. Flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, reach for the new day. Exhale, hands to heart. And hands to the side. Back to Tadasana where we all started. Okay, so as I said, if you're already in child's pose, stay there, relax. If you're not, I want you to take your right foot, and we're going to do the reverse of what we did earlier. So hands on your hips, lift that right leg, that right knee, ground into the four corners of the left foot, lean forward slightly, like we did with that split-legged forward fold, and slowly reach the foot back. Okay, now we're in a sort of modified triangle. Straighten both legs. Feel them out a little bit. Notice if you have any tension. Notice if you feel imbalanced a little bit. And get back to your center. And then lean back. Drag your left foot back until your right foot feels nice and flat and centered and strong. And then lift that left foot, that left knee. And I should say too, feel free to play with the ankle. If there's a little tension there, feel free to flex the toes towards the knee. And then again, folding slightly up the waist, bring that left foot back. Straighten both legs again in that modified triangle. And then drag the right toes to the back of the mat. So here, let's take a deep breath in. Just notice how the breath has changed since we started. Is it faster? Is it deeper? Breath is one way we can always trace our progress. Come down. Back onto all fours like we did earlier. But this time, spread the knees again. Bring the feet together. Lean back. And again, if you're already in child's pose, go ahead, stay there. If you feel like you can't get into child's pose, you can definitely sit with the knees together, straight back, looking forward like this. Or you can bring the knees together and fold over. Take 3 deep breaths in. On the third, walk the hands out a little bit further in front. See how you can get that back to stretch as much as possible. Feel the shoulders open up.
One more deep breath in. One more deep breath out. All right, just like we did before, use the hands. Push against the mat. Feel it on the palms, the butt of the hand here. Feel it in the fingertips as you push your way back. What we're going to do is come into swing the feet forward. Swing the feet in front. Keep the knees bent a little bit if you have to, if it feels good. And we're going to try to sit straight. And just reach, keeping the legs, the underside of the leg, thighs, calves, as flat as possible. Just reach forward as much as you can. Maybe you touch the knees. Maybe that's as comfortable as you can get today. Maybe you're able to reach the shins. Also great. We're just going to increase our work over time. Maybe you reach the ankles. Great. And if possible, maybe even reach the toes. Now, one of my goals is that at some point, in the future, I'll be able to lower my face straight to the knees from here, keeping the back straight and arched. But at this point, I'm not at that level in my practice. So I'm going to need you to, help motivate me just as much as I'm trying to help you guys. And my hope is that we do it together, like I said. I'm going to keep saying that over and over and over because this is about community and support. Okay? So take a nice stretch here. Really open up the back of those calves. Exhale. And let's meet flat on the back for Shavasana. Now here, the best part of Shavasana is not only letting the work that you just did really sink in to your body and allowing you an opportunity to be proud of yourself, but it's also a way for you to customize the practice. So if you need any pillows, if you need any blankets, if you need a bolster, feel free to grab that now. You can tuck one under the back of your knees. You can tuck a blanket under your head. Perhaps you even need some support under your back. Whatever it takes to feel comfortable. Okay? And just take a few seconds, and when you get there, try to tuck the shoulder blades underneath the back. Neck straight, looking directly up at the ceiling or sky, wherever you are right now. Feet open, just lying the edge of the mat, and hands open, facing the skies in an open gesture, a mudra of receptivity. And just return to a gentle breath. Feel the expansion of the stomach as you close your eyes if you haven't already done so. Feel the expansion of the chest. For me, I really, through yoga practice, started to see breath as a very political act, breathing as a very political act. We've seen over the past several years members of our community, Black and brown members of our community specifically, have been denied the privileged breath. And when we breathe together, we are human together. We cultivate compassion and we cultivate a value for life. And one of the greatest things yoga teaches us is that there's an interconnectivity that we all share.
And then all starts with the energy, the life, prana. So to respect the breath is to respect each other. So just sit for a few minutes. Just observe your thoughts. And I'll come back and check in with you. When you're ready, begin to wiggle the toes, begin to wiggle the fingers. Bring awareness back to your breath, sounds in the room, smells in the room. And begin to flutter the eyes open. What do you see? What is the vision? And a deep breath in. And on the exhale, roll over to whatever side is most comfortable. I like to come onto my right side. For some reason, I feel more relaxed and cared for on that side. I think when I was a baby, I used to sit on my mother's shoulder this way. And so it always made me feel more peaceful. And just sit in a fetal position for a few seconds, and then with whatever arm is counter to the side you're on. So if you're on your right side, use your left arm. If you're on your left side, use your right arm. Slowly and deliberately take the opportunity to feel every bit of movement. And let's come back to that seated position. Our right shin in front of our left. Again, just a light tug of the spine to bring our heart open to the world, our hearts open to the pain, sadness, joy, happiness, the possibility of liberation. If the shoulders are tense at all, lower them down with a deep exhale. And just feel from when we were here at the beginning, what's different? What does being present mean to you now than maybe it didn't earlier? What has changed when it comes to your idea of presence?
and the value, if anything. I mean, this is something we'll continue to work on together, but I'm really curious to know if you feel any different when you think of that word, when you hear that word, presence. One of the most rewarding things that um, my teachers helped me recognize was the value of writing my thoughts down after a practice. And then, whether or not I was reflecting on them that day, the next day, I would come back and sometimes I would write a poem. They would inspire a poem. Sometimes they would, I wouldn't look at a journal entry for months and then I'd come back to it and see it in a completely new light and see how it was relevant in my everyday life off the mat. But I encourage you to do the same and just take a few minutes and free write, just subconscious thoughts about what you feel is different in you now, what yoga means to you, and also what it means to be present, both in your individual life, your family life, your community life, and of course your social life as well. All right, so I really want to thank you for helping me grow by helping me have a reason to record this video. I really want to thank you for giving me a space to share my thoughts, my feelings, and I hope that you feel much the same. I look forward to spending more time with you. So let's take our hands together, bring them, feel some heat, rub them together a little bit, bring them to your chest. Let's take a deep breath in. Hands to the third eye. Exhale, then deep breath out. Bow the head. Namaste.